Alright, so in this video I'd just like to show you guys how technical analysis works on any stock, really, from ranging from your expensive Apple down to your $1 to $2 stock. I'm not much of a penny stock trader. I do trade options, but just looking at this one, TKMR, this stock has collapsed from 31.48 here, currently at 11.23. But if you're wondering, why did this stock bounce right here? It's simple. You could just look at the daily chart and you'll notice there's a gap here. A gap is when a stock closes at a certain price and the next day it literally just gaps up. One bad example or bad way of explaining this is, think of this as being teeth here. Here there's like a missing tooth. It's a kind of a bad way to explain it, but it's just a gap. That's all it is. These are all, think of these as a bunch of teeth here. Here again there's a small gap, as you can see here. But there you go. There you can see here had a gap. There we go. Your gap level here, $10.16. If you look over here on May 22nd, the low was $10.22. This is 10.16. I'm sorry, yeah, the low is 10.22, and here the low is 10.20. So about 4 cents off. Nothing is down to the penny, but sometimes you'll be surprised. So here you could have picked up this stock here at 10.13 and profited about 6% on Friday. I'd like to see how this stock reacts to these lines here. This blue line, your purple line. Blue line is your 20-day moving average, and your purple line here is your 200 moving average. When these cross, this will act as resistance. If this decides to move up here, it should pull back down to this 1104 level, and that's where your gap is at. Low here, 1103, the low here, 1102, low here, 1094, and I've got that at 1104, so I should change that to 1094. I apologize for that. Alright, so again, this video is just more of an educational video in case you guys are wanting to learn. So resistance here, if this does break this level, this stock could make a move back up to somewhere around this level here. I'll keep an eye on that one. Again, this is more for educational purposes, but I will keep an eye on this one. Next up, POWR. As you can see here, this stock, again, talking about gaps, a huge gap here. I don't know the story behind it, nor do I care. I don't trade news, I just trade charts. Again, big gap down. It made a low of 641. This was a $27 stock, as you can see here, back in March of this year. So from 27 to 6, I mean, this thing's just oversold right now. As you can see here, it has made a nice move back up, closing at 821. If you look here, this high on this candle, 829, which I've got that level penciled in here. If POWR breaks this level, you could see a nice move up on this stock, and it's a cheap one, currently at $8, and this could see $12. So I'll keep an eye on that one. Next up, SREV, another gap stock here. This was a $9.60 stock here. Currently it's at $4.40. Similar pattern to the previous one here. This high here on this candle, 438. my level's a little bit off. 438. There we go. What I do like about this one here is that it closed at 440. If you look at the 10-minute, there you go. 438, as you can see here, it struggled at that level. It did break above it on Friday, but it did pull back here, and finally towards the end of the day it did manage to close above that level there. Looking back at the the daily, you will have support here at this blue line, your 20-day moving average currently at 455. If this does break this level, you could see this thing move up to $4.99, maybe $5, even number, and maybe a gap fill. I'll keep an eye on that stock. I'm not in any of these stocks. I'm just kind of using this as an educational video. Next up, NRG. NRG is not really a cheap stock. It's $33.72. It's a $33 a share stock. Here's one thing I do like, again for educational reasons only. Look at this bearish pattern. I've explained what a bearish pattern is. If you guys don't know what a bearish pattern is, you guys could Google it. But here's your bearish pattern trading under this 20-day moving average. I really think this thing's going to fall down to this level here, to your 50-day moving average. I mean, you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days it closed below this blue line, your 20-day moving average, with a bearish pattern. You could see some downside on this stock here, so use this as kind of educational purposes to be able to pinpoint which stocks are making bearish patterns and which stocks should fall. You could predict which way stocks are going. Next up, JE. This one, as you can see here, was trading at $8 a share a few days ago on May 14th here, and this thing just collapsed, and right now it's at $5.87 here. I like this one for technical purposes here. I've got a level here at 577. If you're wondering where that comes from, I am zoomed out. I'm looking back at January 2013 on the daily chart. As you can see here, it made a low here of 577, a low here on this candle 575. So I went with the 577 level, and here on Thursday it made a low of 576. So a penny, is that right? 576. So a penny above is 577. Friday it did engulf this candle here, closing up 0.89%. What I mean by engulfing is, let's look at the 60-minute chart just to explain that a little bit better. Actually, let's look at the 10-minute. Might be easier to explain. So an engulfing bar, all that means is it closed, or it wiped out the previous candle's high. So if this dotted line here, from this line to this line is Thursday. As you can see here, Thursday, this stock made a high right here at 586. Friday it closed above that line here, and looking back at the daily, it engulfed this candle here. So it closed higher than the high of this candle here. You guys, again, you could Google it if you want to know more about engulfing candles. All that means is, if you have a candle, excuse my drawing skills here. So let's say you've got a candle like this. And then the next day, the stock decides to make a candle like this on the daily chart. So the previous high would be here, and you get an engulfing candle. So it wiped out this entire bar here, kind of like overshadowing it. Think of it that way. That typically is a sign of reversal on a stock. So I'd like to see how this plays out. I'll keep an eye on that one. I don't want to go on too long. Next up, NPTN. Again, let me zoom out here. I'm going to go way back on this one. Alright, so on this one here, I went back and I looked at May 30th, 2012. This stock made a low here of 3, let's zoom in here, 392, alright? Again, when you guys are looking at stocks, make sure to zoom out all the way. You want to see the whole picture. As you can see here, this was kind of a head and shoulder pattern almost. Here's your shoulder, here's your head, here's your shoulder, this was your neckline. A head and shoulder pattern is exactly what it sounds like. Think of a body, shoulder, this is a head, this is your other shoulder here. Just like a person, head, shoulder, shoulder. You connect this low, this low, this low, and as you can see right there, that's when the stock really flushed down here. This was an $8 stock. Currently it's at $3.97. I do expect to see a bounce off of this level here. I apologize, that's my dog in the background. So I'd like to see where this stock, what this stock does at this 392 level. Last but not least, I had one more. Here's a good way to end the video. SN, I wish I had played this one. Here's your daily chart. If you connect this high here to this high here, and if you look on, I believe that's Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, this stock made a high of 34.50. Again, if you had connected this line, and this line, and this line, if we look at the 10-minute chart, on Thursday here, you could have gone short this stock. What I mean by short is bet that this stock would fall. And as you can see here, if I could just draw my arrow here, you could have shorted this stock here at 34.50, almost to the penny, and as you can see here, the stock just collapsed from 34.50 down to 31.39. Collapse is probably a bad word to use, but a nice pullback, I should say. That's on this day here. Friday, you could have played it again, and if you're wondering how could you have predicted this high here, 32.97 was the high here. Check this out. Look at this high right here, 32.96. So again, it's not perfect. There we go. The stock closed down here on this day at 31.41. Right here where my cursor's at. Let's look at the 10-minute time frame. And look at that. Friday gapped up right into this level, 32.96, it made a high of 32.97, and then it pulled back towards the end of the day. So from 32.97 to 31.33, a decent pullback. So again, I hope this video helped. I hope I didn't go on for too long, but I will keep an eye on these stocks. But that's kind of how, a little bit of a educational, how these technical analysis works. They're not always going to be perfect, but just try to ignore the news, ignore all the hype, ignore all the all the pumping by the media and everything. Just look at stocks for what they are. Watch these patterns, and you could profit from these patterns. All right. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will provide my email address in the description of the video. Thanks again for watching. I know I went on about 15 minutes, so thank you again for watching.